Right, okay. You lot, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch all of our videos. And if you're really interested in the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London. You'll find over 1,000 videos and thousands of images. We're moderated and friendly. Come and give us a try.
Together, identical twins Reggie and Ronnie Kray have fought their way up to become the gangster kings of London.
Throughout their life, they weren't really two separate people. They were one.
But a woman has come between them, and the volatile Ronnie takes a terrible turn for the worse. Reggie Kray weds his sweetheart, Frances Shay, on the 20th of April, 1965. But the fairy tale marriage doesn't last long.
They moved into a flat underneath Ronnie, which was not good news for Frances.
The marriage wasn't as a marriage should be, and Reggie was out most nights with Ronnie.
Despite being a married man, Reg can't pull himself away from his twin brother.
Reggie, he was spending less and less time with her and more with Ronnie because that's what Ronnie demanded. And I think that she just became overwhelmed.
Frances resents Ron's power over Reg, but there's little she can do.
Frances thought that Ronnie was a terrible influence on Reggie. She was terrified of him. She was frightened of him. I think she felt her life with Reggie slipping away.
Things took a turn for the worse for Frances because Ronnie would do things to upset her, and she became quite unbalanced. And within a matter of months, Frances had moved back into her parents' home.
Once again, Ron has his twin all to himself. But things are only going to get worse for Reg. Despite having Reg back at his side, Ronnie Kray continues to battle his personal demons.
He was falling deeper and deeper into madness and paranoia. He saw a clairvoyant who told him he was destined for greatness through violence.
He'd be polishing guns, polishing the machete, saying what he was going to do with it.
Ronnie's delusions about what he could do and what he could get away with was spinning completely out of control.
Ron starts to hear voices telling him to kill, and his dark fantasies slowly become reality.
Ronnie is getting more and more consumed with his obsessions about killing. He's got to kill somebody to prove that he's a real gangster, because you can't be a #1 gangster without killing someone.
Ronnie had a death list of people he wanted to iron out, to kill, you know.
Ron focuses his violent fantasies on the people he believes are out to get him.
There was always a rivalry with a Richardson gang over in South London. They was moving in on different parts of the West End.
And in a London pub one night, a member of the Richardson gang is overheard ridiculing Ron's sexuality.
He's just a fat puff.
George Cornell was heard saying, "Where's the fat puff?"
When news of the gay slur reaches Ron Kray, he finally snaps.
Ron suddenly decided that, revenge needed to be exacted and sooner rather than later. It was almost a case of the madness finally finding its time strike. Ron received a phone call from one of his spies to say that George Cornell was drinking with somebody in the Blind Beggar pub.
Ronnie packs his 9mm Mauser revolver and heads over to the Blind Beggar.
Ronnie Kray walked in. George Cornell was sitting at the bar.
And then Cornell turns around and says, "Hey, look who this is."
Look who's here.
Ron draws his weapon and points it at George Cornell.
Instead of Ronnie firing one over Cornell's shoulder, Ronnie fires right into Cornell's brain.
He just waltzed out the pub and nobody did nothing.
Ronnie has committed his ultimate crime, his dream of murder. And off he goes into the night.
Ronnie Kray has finally answered the voices in his head and committed murder.
He killed a man in full view of the East End of London. He'd earned his stripe as a #1 gangster.
And now that Ron has earned his stripes, he won't be satisfied until his identical twin earns them too.
He's thinking in his head, I've done mine. Now it's Reggie's turn.
Kill him, Reg! Kill him! Go on!
Ron Kray has just murdered someone in cold blood.
Having carried out the ultimate crime and not being arrested for it gave Ron Kray this untouchability factor. He was the untouchable king of London and certainly fueled the fires of his delusions of grandeur.
As his madness grows, Brother Reg knows that Ron's volatile behavior could destroy everything they've built.
Ronnie was becoming an increasingly bigger burden to Reggie. Ronnie's madness and paranoia always threatened to bring their criminal empire down.
After the Cornell killing, Ron is forced to go into hiding, leaving Reg and the firm to clean up the mess.
The firm have been in and spoke to the barmaid, they've spoke to this person, that person, and every person and calmed the whole situation down.
Privately, Reg resents Ron's poor judgment in killing Cornell.
Reg was shocked by it. He knew then that their lives were going to change forever, and now it became a case of really covering up for what his brother had done.
The Kray twins' fearsome reputation remains strong. Eyewitnesses refuse to help the police.
The East End clammed up. Nobody saw anything. There were no witnesses who were prepared to testify against Ronnie Kray.
The East End Code of Silence had come into its own, and for Ronnie Kray, at that moment in time, he felt as if he got away with murder.
Members of the firm feel Ronnie's unbridled violence is bad for business.
The death of Cornell became the panic, if you like, amongst the firm. People start to reconsider their part in the Kray story and whether it's safe to be working with these people. And a lot of people who were associated with the Krays at that time started to distance themselves.
It made everybody more nervous. What was he going to do next?
As his twin brother descends deeper into madness, Reg Kray's estranged wife Frances shares an eerily identical experience.
Frances was increasingly getting worse. She was taking drugs, tranquilizers. She wound up in a mental institution because she tried to commit suicide.
Reg reaches out to Frances, but it's too little, too late.
Frances was found dead from an overdose of sleeping pills.
Reg is absolutely devastated.
Frances, the love of his life, was gone. Reg is consumed with grief. He drank and drank and drank.
He was in a terrible, terrible state. No one could go near him or say the wrong thing because he was just like a loose cannon.
Reg Kray's volatile behavior starts to mirror that of his identical twin, Ronnie.
That sent Reg into a spiral in depression which he never got out of. He was having fights and having arguments, and Reg was starting to act irrationally and almost mimic the behaviour of his brother, which made them doubly dangerous.
Unbalanced and bloodthirsty, Ron begins to taunt his twin brother.
They were two people with one murderous impulse, as far as Ronnie was concerned. And he pushed and pushed and pushed because he felt that his twin had to kill to cement their bond.
He would say, well, now it's your turn, Reggie. I've committed my murder. When are you going to do your one? It's sick, really.
A party is organized by the Krays in an apartment in North London. Jack the Hat McVitie, a disgraced Kray associate, has been lured there.
They paid Jack the Hat to do a contract killing, and when he hadn't done it, Ronnie was furious and told Reggie they had to do something about it.
It's the perfect opportunity for Reg to pull even with Ron.
Jack the Hat was brought in by a couple of the firm members into a room where Ron and Reg were sitting.
Ronnie Kray handed Reggie the gun, and the screaming was, well, do it, I've done mine, do yours. Kill him, shoot him.
And just like his brother before him, Reg Kray finally snaps.
Reggie pulls the gun out, fires it at McVitie, but the gun don't work. There's a rough and tumble. McVitie tries to escape.
Reg is handed a carving knife and he plunges it into Jack the Hat's throat.
He continued to stab him on the floor. He was practically pinned to the floor, you know, bones and gristle and blood was everywhere.
This can't be real. There lying in the middle of the room is Jack the Hat. I cannot comprehend the fact that they've killed him. You just don't do it in front of that many people.
So now the twins, Ronnie and Reggie, have actually both committed a murder, and they have cemented their bond, fulfilled their bond as twins in blood.
Scotland Yard has spent months putting a case together against the Kray twins to tie them to the murders of George Cornell and Jack McVitie.
A group of detectives were working, collating information and meeting with different underworld characters and kind of building a picture.
After 9 months of investigation, police finally arrest Reg and Ron Kray on May 8th, 1968. 24 associates are also arrested.
The firm members were really starting to think, very carefully about, themselves, and slowly but surely, various members of the firm started to cut their own deals to save their own skins.
This was like a house of cards. One by one, members of the firm started talking to the police and giving them details about the Krays businesses and the 2 murders.
The police try everything in their power to get me to go against the Krays. But I'm steeped in East End history. It cost me my wife and my daughter to keep my mouth shut about the Krays. It's the beginning of the end.
The Krays and members of the firm appear for trial at the Old Bailey courthouse.
It was one of the longest trials in British criminal history.
But these gangsters know the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
We all went down. My brother Tony, 15 years. Me, 15 years. Freddie Foreman, 10.
The court saves the harshest punishment for the Kray twins.
Ronnie and Reggie were given life sentences, minimum 30 years. Now, for the first time in their lives, they were to be separated permanently.
For the Kray twins, it's a fate worse than death.
At 34 years of age, much of their adult life had been spent in crime, immersed in violence and intimidation, but they'd done it together. They were as one.
The twin thing was obviously something which was always going to play its part, and ultimately their lives were mapped out for them. It's a path that led to murder.
Ronnie and Reggie Kray spent the rest of their lives in prison and passed into history as the notorious gangster twins of swinging London.
The Krays hold a special place in British folklore as the most famous gangsters that Britain ever produced. Individually, they probably wouldn't have been anything, but together as twins, they ruled London.
They'd love to look back now, I think, from wherever they are and know that they've become what we call their myths, aren't they? People will always film, always talk about them, always write about them.
Ultimately, the Krays were a unique set of twins, and nobody will ever come again like them.
watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.